If you're a fan of historical fiction and true crime books, I have a book I highly recommend for you. It's called The Devil in the White City. It's a historical true crime book by Erik Larson, and the book tells the story of the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago from two perspectives. One is of the architect who designed the fair, and the other is of the serial killer who used the fair to lure his victims. Erik Larson's Devil in the White City is a true crime story that reads like a work of fiction. The book tells the story of these two men whose lives intersect during this World's Fair in Chicago. H. Holmes, who you may have heard of, I believe he's referred to as like the world's first serial killer, or definitely one of the most notorious, a serial killer who preyed on fairgoers, and Daniel Burnham, an architect responsible for designing the fair, which was also known as the White City, hence the title of the book, and he built the fairgrounds and did all the design work. Larson does an expert job of weaving together the stories of these two men, and the result is a truly page-turning thriller that will keep you guessing until the very end. So if you're looking for an interesting historical read that keeps you entertained from start to finish, I would highly recommend The Devil in the White City. The first half focuses on H. Holmes, born Herman Mudgett, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. He changed his name after moving to Chicago and opening a hotel near the site of the 1893 World Fair. I do believe there is a movie in the works for this as well, so I'm very curious to see what that will be. The hotel, which became known as Murder Castle, is a 3-story building equipped with gas chambers, trapdoors, secret passageways that allowed Holmes to easily dispose of his victims. In all, it is believed that Holmes killed at least 27 people, although some estimate to put that number closer to 200. The author does an excellent job of bringing Holmes' story to life, and I found myself completely engrossed in this book from start to finish. Although I did know how Holmes' story would end, he was unalived in 1896, I still found myself eager to see how the author would tell it and how he would weave these stories together. And then we also have the story of Daniel Burnham. While Holmes was undoubtedly the star of this book, I definitely found myself very interested in Daniel Burnham's story and his architecture and his background. And I definitely have an interest in architecture, but I am in no way an expert. So I was worried that maybe the language in this book would be very complex when they were discussing these things, but it was so easy to follow along. And Larson did a great job of making it accessible for everyday people. I found myself just as engrossed in Burnham's story as I was in Holmes, and I think Larson did an excellent job of showing how these two men's lives intersected during one of America's most pivotal, moments in history. The Devil in the White City is a must-read for anyone who enjoys true crime stories or page-turning thrillers. It was a book that was really interesting and well-written. So if you're looking for a historical true crime book, I would definitely recommend The Devil in the White City, and let me know in the comments if you've read any other of Erik Larson's books.